Yo, and welcome to Shooting the Soil. In this video, we're going to give you a tour of the garden, also go over all the regenerative practices that we used so far this year in the garden, and we're also going to share with you a recipe. We harvested some of our Valhalla walking onions, and we made some pakoras with them. Other words known as fritters here in New England, but yeah, we'll roll the intro now and get right into it.
NANI?!
Okay, so starting off, here's my perennial pollinator bed. All we did here is we bought a packet of perennial flower seed from nec.com and we threw it down, covered it with some compost 3 years ago, and it's come back ever since. I rarely have to water it, and I have not added any nutrients since I planted it. Alright, so now we're walking around into the garden. But first, let's take a step back to last year in early November to see how I got here. So, right after harvest last year, we planted a cover crop of hard red winter wheat and fenugreek. The fenugreek did not survive the winter, but the wheat did. So, even though it was just one species, I still succeeded in my goal of having a living plant in the soil for most of the year, providing those exudates, feeding the microbiology. Now, jumping ahead to early May this year, you can see the winter wheat there, and we're just terminating it as we plant. Also providing a great straw mulch, and is completely herbicide free, which is very hard to source. Anyway, as you can see here, we're just terminating the winter wheat with our hori-hori knife as we plant. To give the plants a nice little boost, we used this craft blend from Build-A-Soil, and we just sprinkled a little bit in each hole and then maybe 2 pinches on top as well. Okay, back to the garden in present day of June 15th. Here's what's left of the walking onions after I made the pakoras. It's so cool how they keep just growing more onions on top. I'm super happy with how healthy and bushy my tomatoes are looking this year. These are all from seed that I saved from last year's tomatoes. That's a dragon tongue bean there in the middle. Did a bit of an interplanting layout on this bed with peppers, tomatoes, beans, onions, peas, all sort of scattered throughout the bed. It's gonna be interesting because I totally mixed up my tomato seeds, so I have no idea if these are purple bumblebees or atomic tomatoes. They're both bush varieties, so at least I know what I'm working with, and I don't need trellising as long as I don't pick off too many suckers and let them bush out. Alright, so in the back right there by the trellis, we got some Boston pickling cucumbers. Down here in front, we have some Chinese cabbage, which I have struggled to grow in the past since the bugs in my area seem to absolutely love them. But now that I got them established, they're climbing up that plant health pyramid of John Kemp, working with that soil food web to get what they need for pest resistance. Back to what we got growing, we got a row of beets and then another row of mystery tomatoes. Then we got another row of peppers trying to be established. All this we planted much later than the top of the bed. And up here we have a whole trellis of sugar snap peas from Baker Creek Seeds. I think I could have started them a little bit sooner, but they're already going to flower and should get a pretty good harvest before it gets too hot. And then over here, look how tall the winter wheat has gotten. This is what I left from the cover crop because I want some seed. I definitely want to use this as a cover crop over winter next year. Now we're moving on to my perennial bed, where I have strawberries mostly growing in this bed. The chipmunks have already started to demolish them all. We did manage to get quite a few really tasty strawberries for the spring harvest before they got to them. Then we have some garlic that's looking nice and some asparagus that we got established. Yeah, so my thought process on this bed is just to have strawberries and asparagus that come back every year, and I'll have to do little to nothing. Moving on to the next bed, which is my sweet potato bed, which I also love to plant a row of lettuce and arugula right down the middle. I slacked a little bit on my sweet potato slip game. I should have started them a little bit earlier. To my surprise, in the back there, we have a purple sweet potato that came back from last year after they died in the summer heat. Will be interesting to see what that does this summer. The regular sweet potato variety that I have in there usually doesn't take off till that late summer heat. Swinging around to this raised bed where we have our 1500-year-old cave beans planted this year. And I think I'm going to rework this bed next year. The logs on top are cinder blocks, too many nooks and crannies, it dries out too quick, rodents get in there. Yeah, I was kind of thinking of giving this bed to all ground cherries, but I got no germination from the seeds I bought. I think this little tiny thing might be one. Looks like a tomato. Anyway, we put a couple of basil around the outside and some sorghum in the back. We'll see what happens. Alright, in this next bed, we've been for the last couple of years just sort of remediating, letting go wild, and building that soil. This year, we put some Tahitian melon squash in there, assuming that it's just going to take over this entire bed. Got a nice little raspberry here, which is just a native volunteer. Then we got this elderberry that was just growing here before I even built the garden bed. It's stretched over to the side like this because it was competing for light with all the vegetation that I cleared out to build this garden. But with a little pruning and a little love, it's looking pretty healthy. Lastly, but definitely not least, is our pawpaw tree. We got a few others scattered around the property, but this one's definitely looking the healthiest. Anyway, now we'll do a quick recap of our actions. So starting off, we coated all our seeds with a mycorrhizal inoculant from Advancing Eco Agriculture. And here is one of my roots under the microscope with epifluorescence lighting, allowing us to see that mycorrhizal inside of the root mobilizing phosphorus. We started all our plants indoors under really nice LED lights, and when we planted them outside, we added that little bit of craft blend granular nutrients, along with a decent amount of our homemade Johnson Sioux compost. Other than that, we watered in a pretty short compost extract that was aerated in water with a potato. I'm going to be doing a video for sure on that process shortly, so hit those buttons so you don't miss it. But yeah, that's all we've done so far this year, and we're having amazing results. And now for the deliciousness. Walking Onion Pakoras, or you can use any onions for that matter. So here we have them all chopped up in a bowl, green stalks and bulbs. Then in another bowl, you want to mix up your flour. I used garbanzo and sorghum flour, and you can see we use some cayenne pepper, some coriander, then a little bit of cardamom, and some garlic powder. We mix that all up and then add it to the onions. Add a little bit of oil and a little bit of water just to it's the right sticky point so you can form it into a nice shape. And then I popped them into my oven with my air frying option and cooked them at 350 for 20 minutes. And here is the finished product. Everybody loved them at the potluck that I brought them to. I only actually got to eat one, which then I shared a third of because one of my friends didn't get one. Anyway, that's going to wrap up this video. Hit those buttons if you would be so kind. And check out some of my other videos with some super high quality soil microscopy. And we will catch you on the flip side.